Pretty awesome. Yes. What? We're online. Yeah, I know. Oh, now we're live? Oh my goodness.
That is 100% my fault because I was going up and evidently I went up a little too hard.
Rob was scrolling on the MacBook. Anyway, so good morning, everybody. I don't know what camera I'm looking at. This camera? Hi there. Good morning, everybody. We're glad that you could join us. We're going to try to get making sense again here and have a little bit of time of worship together and fun together and we're going to have like some scrolling exercises for Rob later.
Oh goodness.
Oh yeah, that's good. Apparently Rob has a problem with two-finger gestures and clearly demonstrating that he's very good with one-finger gestures at the moment. Oh, I love Vox so much. I really do. So pray for us. All right, let's sing a song together, shall we?
Keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. You say the only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I'm weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I am yours, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe, and I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, you say I am loved and I can't presence, in your light I am known. I'm surrounded, I will not walk alone. Whatever lies ahead, you're with me every step. Can't stop your love for me. Can't stop your love. It's true in every breath. It's true in even death. Can't stop your love for me. Can't stop your love. Where can I go? Where can I go? From your presence and your light I am known. I'm surrounded, I will not walk alone. Where can I go? Where can I go? From your presence and your light I am known. I'm surrounded, I will not walk alone. No mountain is too high, no ocean is too wide. Can't stop your love. No power is too great. You overcame the grave. Can't stop your love. No mountain is too high, no ocean is too wide. Can't stop your love. No power is too great. You overcame the grave. Can't stop your love. Can't stop your love. Can't stop your love. Where can I go? Where can I go? From your presence and your light I am known. I'm surrounded, I will not walk alone. Where can I go? Where can I go? From your presence and your light I am known. I'm surrounded, I will not walk
Oh, so good morning again. Thank you so much for joining us here. That was a fun start to the morning. Everything just exactly as we rehearsed it, perfectly down to like the second, which is Vox's MO, really. I mean, it's what we're known for as a church, is being like polished and perfect all the time, doing things exactly as we rehearse them. That's our MO all over the place. Roy says his excuse is that we were being led by the Holy Spirit. Yep, probably. So we tell a lot of bad jokes here at Vox. We really do have to thank Christina McBean for starting it. One of my favorite things when Christina started it is she would actively she would test out the jokes during the week with her family, and if they got too big a laugh, she wouldn't use that joke because the joke was too good. And I think that's pretty funny. But we tell a lot of bad jokes here, and then sometimes the jokes that we tell are actually called, sometimes they're referred to as dad jokes. And this week I was thinking about, what do you call someone who tells dad jokes but doesn't have any kids? a faux pas. Pretty good, right? A faux pas, yeah?
I think that's the worst one. Since we started this pandemic thing,
That's the worst one since it started. Oh man. Okay, so we have some birthdays to celebrate this morning. I haven't quite checked. I've had a whole bunch of people sending me some stuff. So I know it was Brittany Dodge's birthday this past week. Quentin Snow, his birthday this past week. He turned 40. It's unbelievable. And then also, I believe it's Bennett's birthday was this past week as well. I think that's all. I haven't seen any other ones pop up in here. And definitely nobody else has been texting me a million things to tell me I got everything. Quentin's old enough now he has to shave. That's going to be the weirdest thing, right? Like there's a bunch of people that some of you haven't had a chance to see since the pandemic kind of started, since we haven't been able to get together. And the first time we're able to do church again, there are all of these young adults who are going to come walking in the room, and the last time you saw them, they were children, and now they're all like especially some of the dudes, they've all got, last time you saw them, they were like this. No, they're all like this. Anyways, fun times had by all. So we're going to sing happy birthday to all of the people here. Sorry, I was just reading what Rob was saying about me. Okay, so let's sing happy birthday to Brittany and Quentin and Bennett. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brittany and Quentin and Bennett. Happy birthday to you. Oh, happy birthday. I was just thinking that it's kind of weird that we don't, I don't ever have like an order that we sing them in. No. It's just whatever order. And sometimes I don't sing them in the same order that I announced them in. That's probably not good. Anyways, so we're going to continue on this morning with a little bit of worship together.
Come out of sadness from wherever you've been. Come broken hearted, let rescue begin. Come find your mercy, oh sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. Oh, I'm broken. Lift up your praise. Oh, wanderer, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your heart, lay down your heart, come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who strayed. Come sit at the table, come taste the grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. So lay down your burdens, lay There's joy for the morning. Oh, sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. Oh, lift up your praise. Oh, you're not too far. So lay down your head, lay down your heart, and come as you are. Come as you are. Come as you I've been strong and I've been broken within a moment. I've been faithful and I've been reckless at every bend. I've held everything together and watched it shatter. I've stood tall and I have crumbled in the same breath. I have wrestled and I have trembled toward surrender. Chased my heart adrift and drifted home again. Plundered blessing till I've been desperate to find redemption. And every time I turn around, Lord, you're still there. I was found before I was lost. I was yours before I was not. There's grace to spare for all my mistakes, and that part just wrecks me. And I know I don't deserve this kind of love, but somehow this kind of love is who you are. It's a grace I could never add up to be somebody you still want. But somehow you love me as you find me. Who am I to think your glory needs my praises? But if this borrowed breath deserve this kind of love, but somehow this kind of love is who you are. It's a grace I could never earn, to be somebody you still want, but somehow you love me as you find me. You see me through a lens of perfect love, and no mistake could change your mind. You see my brokenness, there's no disguise, but there is mercy in your eyes. Unconditional, undeniable. Oh, what perfect love. You proved it on the cross. Unconditional, unmistakable. Time and time again, in spite of everything, it's unconditional. Unconditional. You see right through the mess of sin and shame. You see a child who needs your grace. You run to meet me on the broken road, and in your arms I know I'm home. Unconditional, undeniable. Oh, what perfect love. You proved it on the cross. Unconditional, unmistakable. Time and time again, in spite of everything, it's unconditional. It's unconditional. Call me child, I'm not rejected. Call me yours, I am accepted now, just as I am. All my faults and all my failures, everything in your grace covers me, just as I am. Unconditional, undeniable. Oh, what perfect love. You proved it on the cross. Unconditional, unmistakable. Time and time again, in spite of everything, it's unconditional. Unconditional, undeniable. Your heart has welcomed me just as I To be loved is to be changed.
Love that song. So we are going to continue on in our series on spiritual disciplines, and Roy is going to bring this week's message on spiritual disciplines, but not from here, but from his office at the shop. And so we're going to watch that now.
Oh, welcome back to the shop. I was just getting caught up on some paperwork. I forgot that we were doing this today. It's been a crazy last couple weeks, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to get caught up on some of the stuff I would normally get caught up with. And it's part of life. It's how things have to work. But so I'm wondering, actually, over the last year or so, maybe even the last since the beginning of this year, have you started anything new? A new hobby like needlepoint, or like Rob, I think Rob started competitive ice sculpting or ice dancing. I can't remember what it was, something like that. Have you? I know we brought this up before, and we've had that conversation about, what have we done over the course of the pandemic. Is there anything that you have done? You see, there's a reason why I asked this, because let's be honest, 2020 sucked big time. In my own words, as you guys well know, 2020 was not the legitness. 2020 was lacking in so much legitness. I had to invent things that might be the legitness, just so that my family, friends, and I could have some legitness in our life. Because 2020 lacked legitness. It was horrible. Don't get me wrong, there were some good things that happened in 2020. I can't think of any right now, but I know that there were some. I did get to spend some more time with my family, which was good most of the time. But when the new year hit, and we had the election down in the States, and things kind of went weird and sideways with that, with certain aspects of it. It kind of got me thinking a little bit. So I kind of, not to be all fancy pants or anything like that, but I wasn't enjoying lockdown anymore. I pretty much had enough of it, as I'm sure most of you guys have. I was getting pretty bored, and at times a little bit out of my mind. So, to be honest with you, like any sane individual, I think it was important that I pick something up. I had to do something to keep myself occupied. So I talked with my friend Trevor, who you see here on Sunday mornings playing piano every now and then, and I started learning the piano. So I have a old upright piano at the house that's way out of tune, and I messed around with that for a little bit, and then finally went and just bought a little keyboard to mess around with at home. So I've been learning piano. I have successfully learned the blues scale pretty much across the keys, which is kind of nice for me. I was quite happy with that. Another thing I did was I've been talking with friends and family and such, and I finally decided to bite the bullet, and I started taking the paralegal course online, and that started this past Monday. And it's a condensed course, so it's basically the next year, in the mornings from like 8 in the morning until noon to 1 o'clock, depending on how fast we get through stuff. There's 8 other people in the class, and the last week has been a little bit crazy because it was very last minute to get in, so I had a lot of work at the shop to do. So I was trying to do work at the shop in the afternoons and sometimes during class, while also sneaking into class and doing the work that needed to be done online. Lots of fun. I'm a little bit tired, and I totally forgot I had to do this week. So I started doing this first thing in the morning when I would wake up, and then go to school and online, and then be at the shop and work at the same time. It's been a little bit crazy. I'm kicking myself for that, but it is a ton of work. And my dad always said to me, he said, one of the things that you got to do is figure out what you want to be when you grow up. find something that you enjoy and see if you can make that be who you want to be when you grow up. And I think in the long run, this is going to be something that is going to allow me to help a lot of other people. Okay, because my focus is going to be on landlord-tenant law. And as you all know, our church has been involved with transitional housing for people, and we've been involved in the Simcoe County Housing Project, and Tim and Rhonda with Lucy's Place. So I'm hoping to get into that because I've just seen how important that aspect of law is. But it's made me think a little bit, like, who am I really? You know, who are you really? Do these things define us as an individual? And I'm not really sure. It's something that I've been thinking about this past week. So I want to ask you, have you ever done one of those weird, like, Facebook tests? You know the ones like, what does your profile picture say about you? I know most of you have, because I have you on Facebook and I see them. But did you get the results that you thought you were going to get? Did you look at it and were kind of like, oh yeah, that's totally me? Or was it kind of like, that's weird, this is, hey, look what this thing said, honey? No, I don't think so. Have you ever done one of those ones that was like, you know, profile picture and this is where you're from? Like, I'm 30% German, 12% Native American or Irish or something along those lines, right? You see, I did one of those things, and it said that I was 3% Canadian and 97% Gundabad. All my Tolkien friends should be laughing right now. So, what about doing one of those actual DNA things where, like, you do the mouth swab and you send the whole thing in? Did you ever do one of those and get your results back? I've never done one of them. I was lucky my great-grandmother went back and searched through the names to find out where our family comes from, so I have a pretty good idea. But it's nice to know where you come from, but I don't think that defines who you are, right? I think maybe it's part of it, but I really don't think that it's who we are as an individual just because we know where we're from. What about those self-assessment tests, right? Like, we've talked about them before, the Myers-Briggs tests. See, in a lot of church ministries, they use this test called the Grip-Berkman, which is like the Grip-Berkman tells us what our spiritual giftings are, and it's a behavioral assessment tool, and a lot of churches use them to get people working in the right way, right? And if you don't know, Myers-Briggs type indicator is an instrument that, like a questionnaire, designed to make psychological types understandable and useful in everyday lives. So I'm wondering if you've ever done one of those things. You see, like, I did the Grip-Berkman when I started my theological training, and it did help me answer a few questions, and I found it taking the test quite fun, to be honest with you. As I was going through it, I noticed that there was things that I wasn't sure, and it was fun to have my wife come over and say, hey, what do you think about this question, right? Is this question, like, how would you answer this for me if you were me? And it was fun to add her input into it because she sometimes knows me better than I know myself. So, but in the end, again, I don't think that it told me who I was as an individual. So, it made me wonder, have you ever heard that term, know thyself? I know most of you have. I know I had. It's, you know, to be honest with you, as I was thinking through this, that was the part that kept pumping into my head. But I didn't know where it came from. So, know thyself is what Greek scholars called a maxim. It's a short statement expressing a general truth or a rule of conduct. And one of the first uses of it is this story about this Greek demigod, Prometheus and Oceanus. So I don't know if you know this story about Prometheus. There was a Greek playwright, and his name was Aeschylus, and he lived from about 525 to 455 BC. And he writes about Prometheus, who history says he was a demigod, a sort of half god, half mortal, who was pretty upset, and he was lashing out at the big time gods like Zeus and stuff like that, because he was bound to the side of this cliff. And the whole story, it's pretty gruesome. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but eventually he's, like I said, he's raging and he's lashing out at the gods, and Oceanus comes up to see him, and he says, "Know thyself." Right? Now, like I said, the story's a bit gruesome, but in this context, Oceanus is basically telling Prometheus off. He's trying to remind him that he shouldn't be speaking ill will of the people, of the gods, or those who control his fate. He says, "Know thyself. Stop this and just shut up, because you're being an idiot." Right? So the term "know thyself," the maxim "know thyself," is used in a derogatory sense in this story, and it's essentially saying you better watch what you're saying, or something along those lines. Now, Plato, about 100 years later, after around, he was born around when Aeschylus died, and Aeschylus was one of his teachers. So Plato lived from about 424 BC to 347 BC. And he takes this maxim, or this rule, forward in many of his writings. And in the end, Plato seems to pretty much be dismissive of know thyself as a real possibility. So do you remember that Grip Berkman thing that I was talking about before? You see, when I filled in that questionnaire, like I said, it took a long time. Like it was a long questionnaire, and in the end, it spits out like 88 or 86 pages of information for you to look through, and it explains all of this stuff in a bunch of different ways so that you really deeply understand it. And like I said, I had to have Hope come over and give me a hand, because there were questions I didn't feel comfortable trying to answer myself. I felt like it would be more honest if somebody that knew me well walked with me through some of these questions. So, know thyself. What's a false self? Okay, we've heard, many of us, maybe not all of us, but many of us have heard about this thing called a false self. See, the majority of psychologists over the last 50 years, they all agree that the false self is the self that we often display to those around us. The one that covers up our vulnerabilities, right? So like, I'm gonna put on this strong face to go out in the public, even though, my life is really struggling. I'm having a hard time at home. And let's be honest, if we're being honest, I know for myself for sure, I have done that quite a few times, even just coming into church on Sunday morning to help out and put things together, because again, being honest, it hasn't been the legitness. We know that it hasn't been the legitness, and all of us have had to put that strong face on, right? Like, have you ever looked at someone and just asked them, like, "How are you doing today?" And they look at you with, this scorned look on their face, or this really struggling look on their face, and they go, "I'm just fine." And you look at them and you're like, "You're lying. That's a lie." You see, it's one of those things where, like, I've seen people who I've done that with, and I want to grab them and hug them and say, "You're full of shit, but that's okay. I'm here with you anyways," right? Like, it's a lie. They know it's a lie, but maybe it's too hard to face what's happening right now at that moment. So you gotta put on this strong persona to get through, and that's the false self. That's not really who we really are, right? When we put on this brave face to go into the world, it's that part of our life that we know is false, that's a bit of a lie. But what happens if you're forced to do that every day of your life? See, I've caught myself, like some of you, putting on that stern face, that hard face, to go out more often than not over the last year. And you see, I was brought up that a man has to be the leader of the house, okay? The strong one who doesn't let emotions control him when times get tough, right? The one whose job, the strong man whose job it is to hold everything together. And I'm here to tell you, I think now, and I truly believe this, that's a crock of shit. Pardon my language, but I really do. And as I was writing this, I couldn't think of a better way to explain it. I think it's a huge part of toxic masculinity that it needs to be removed from our parenting. I don't think it helps, especially young boys, get through. It's that whole suck it up and keep on going. I think it's okay to be vulnerable. I preached on that. I think it was in 2019, I preached on vulnerability, where I talked about the depression that I was going through and how David talks about the struggles that he's going through, and he calls out to God and cries out to God, and God responds to him. Sometimes he doesn't. And let's be honest, I think it's very traumatizing for people in the end. It's traumatizing not just for the individual, but for those around them as well, because that means that we're not responding the way that we should be. So it makes me wonder, like, how do we fix this? Okay, like, has a stranger ever asked you that question? How are you doing today? And you simply just answered, well, I'm not too sure, actually. Like, have you answered honestly like that? Somebody asks you, how are you doing today? And you just like, kind of crappy, actually. Or, I'm not too sure. Most people, they expect the response to be, I'm fine, everything's okay. And most people don't know how to respond when they get an honest answer. And they often just kind of like, okay, I'm good. How are you? Because that's the general polite way of responding to these things. What about a close friend? Do you remember what it felt like the last time a close friend came to you, a trusted confidant, and they asked the same question of you, and like, did you have to prime them up a little bit before you answered? It's like, are you sitting down? Because I'm lucky I have people in my life, like my friend Rob and Nathan and Heather, where I can sit down and just say, hey, I'm having a real rough time, I need to chat. And I think that's something that's super important for us. We need to have people around us that we can open up to and be vulnerable to. And I think when we're able to honestly just sit down and dump a lot of stuff, I think it's really freeing. And if you've had the opportunity to do that, where you could reach out to a good friend and just dump the struggles that you're having, the rough day, and just kind of not expect them to fix it, right? But, just to be with you and hold you if possible. It's been hard the last year because, we don't get that physical connection that we're used to. We have to do it over the phone or over video chat, which is almost, to me, seems worse. It's freeing to be able to dump. It's freeing to be able to just release some of that angst and some of those struggles, right? But I think a huge part of the problem is we leave that and then we just bottle it all back up. And I think that the world is a cruel place, and people treat people horribly. I think that's been obvious in the last 4 weeks, how some of that has been difficult. We've been watching on the news, and to be honest with you, I don't think the last 4 years have helped. But I'll bring this up. Paul, in his letter to the church in Ephesus, 4:22 through 24, he says, "You were taught with regard to your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your mind, and to put on the new self, created to be God, like God, in true righteousness and holiness." See, God created us to live life a certain way. And I believe that our baggage and trauma make that really difficult to accomplish sometimes. Excuse me. I think we have to figure out how to get comfortable in our own skin. And if we have reactionary things like anger or impatience, we need to figure out how to fix that stuff, but we have to realize that we struggle with those things first. For me, patience is a huge issue. I often, especially over the last year, if I've pulled up to a place and there's a big lineup, I just keep on going. Because I know that I'm not going to respond in maybe the most healthy of ways. So it's better for me to just not worry about it right now, and just I'll come back later on when it's not as busy. But here's the deal. I think to a certain extent we need to find somebody who can do that for us and help us with it anyways. Because I think if we know that we struggle with things like patience or anger, and we want to fix them, we would have done it already if we could. And I think it's important for us to bring other people into that conversation to help us through some of that. I don't know if it's through coaching or just having close friends. See, how do we fix this? How do we fix these things that we don't like? How do we shake off that false self and put on the new self that is, as the passage says, righteous and holy? You see, I'm going to give you right over here somewhere, there will be a list of passages. And I want you to read through all of these passages after the message and really go over them. So, John 15:16. 1 John 3:1. Remember, this is a different book than the other John. John 15:15. 1 Corinthians 3:16. Ephesians 2:10. And to be honest with you, one of my favorites, I have it on my wall throughout the shop here, is Psalm 139. Specifically, Psalm 139:14. See, all of these passages, these tell us who God made us to be and who God calls us to become. So, that being said, it made me think of some of the things that we can do. Like I said, first, read these passages. Two, think about conviction, right? Do you know what conviction is? Conviction is not guilt. Guilt is feeling bad about something. Conviction is when you realize, like me, I'm an impatient person. I have to figure out how to change that. See, I believe that there are things that we need to change, and I think we need to figure out what those things are. You see, for example, like I said, I'm a very patient person. This bothers me. I don't like being an impatient person, and removing myself from situations where I need to become patient, it doesn't help me become impatient, right? Some of that is I need to dive into those impatient situations, those situations that make me impatient, and figure out how to deal with them in a healthier fashion. So I think the next thing to look at, those scriptures that we posted up before, read those over and over again. Maybe like it'll only take you about 15 minutes in the morning when you wake up, or at lunchtime you take a second, sit down, flip open your tablet or Bible phone or whatever, and just read through them, right? And then maybe try and read through them once a week. And I think what'll happen is eventually you'll slowly start reading and seeing more things in those passages. And those passages will become more part of your life than they were when you first started reading them. I know for me, like that's Psalm 139 when I was going through my depression in 2019. Psalm 139, it's the reason it's all over the shop. It reminded me of who I was in God's eyes. Because who I was in my own eyes wasn't a good person. And that was really difficult for me to get out of. But rereading reading that one Psalm 139 over and over and over again really helped a lot. The next one. When you hit those moments, those reactionary moments that you want to change, remind yourself that you are simply just reacting. Okay? Accept it and move on. It's hard at first, but with practice you'll get it, right? You can sit here and I shouldn't say that. You can't sit here. If you're an impatient person like me, you go out and you stand in line and you realize this is going to make me impatient. I'm going to have a hard time with this, and that's okay. And realize that what you're being impatient about isn't probably actually the thing. The waiting in line isn't the thing, right? There's probably a whole bunch of other stuff that have come up from the bottom of that are causing me to be more impatient. What they are, that's something that we have to work on and figure out, right? The next thing, when you need to be honest with yourself. It's okay. You will get through this. It's not going to be easy. And if you need help, find people that you can reach out to get that help. And be honest with yourself. It's okay. And when you do screw up, and because we all will, like I said, just accept it. There's this thing that we can talk about. It's called confessing, right? Or confession. The Catholic Church has kind of screwed it up a little bit, but I think you can confess these things to yourself. Yep, I screwed up. Moving on. Just accept the fact that you screwed up. Accept the fact, and you may have to apologize. I've done this with my family over the last year, probably more than one time, where I've had to say, guys, I'm really, really sorry. That was a big mistake. I'm sorry I blew up. That wasn't appropriate. That's not how I should have reacted to this situation. And I think that's a part of that vulnerability that I think is also important. And I think another one, this one's really important. Make sure you have someone that you can be vulnerable to. Okay? Someone that you can open up to, and you know that they're not going to sit back and say, yeah, you're an idiot, because that doesn't help, right? You want somebody that you can be vulnerable to, and like I said, they don't have to fix it. But having somebody that you can come to and just say, I'm struggling, I'm having a hard time, can you help me with some of this stuff? Right? And another thing, church kind of has this thing called an accountability partner, right? And I don't know if you know what that is or not, but you gotta find someone who will call you on all of your crap. Call someone who, when you're screwing up, they're gonna be able to look at you and say, hey, you're being a jerk, stop it. And then you have to listen to them. Okay, listening, I think, is one of the hardest things that human beings can figure out how to do, is to listen actively. Okay, am I going to accept what this person has said? And there's been several times over the last year, at least two, if I'm being completely honest, at least two, where my wife has called up Rob and said, hey Rob, can you get a hold of Roy, because I think he's having a hard time. And Roy will call, or I should say, Roy won't, I'm not going to call myself. Rob's going to call me. It's going to be a lot more effective if Rob calls me than if I call myself, and we're going to work through some of those struggles. So that being said, getting rid of some of these defensive mechanisms that we have, like anger and what have you, it's most likely going to be one of the hardest things that we've ever had to do in our life. But I really think that it's going to be also one of the most fulfilling things that we can have in our lives. Okay? And remember that you're not alone in all of this. Every single person around you, every single person on the planet, in some way, shape, or form, is in this with you. They are all experiencing the same thing. We all have things that we need to work on. We just have to be okay with working on them. It's like this. In the church, as Dallas Willard says, we call this process sanctification. It's the lifelong process of becoming who Jesus would be if Jesus was us. Now, getting into sanctification is a great big huge, it's a whole, probably a whole series of sermons on the concept of sanctification. So it's not something that we can get into here, but my point with this is it's this lifelong process. This is going to take your whole life. You're going to work on this your whole life, just like me, just like everybody else. It doesn't mean that it's going to be fixed tomorrow, right? But in the end, I think the most important thing is for us to sit back, accept the fact that we have things that we're struggling with, things that we want to hide and keep away from other people, trauma things, background things, childhood issues, whatever you want to call it, whatever they are, there's all these things that are sitting there that we need to work on and figure out. And the only way to figure that stuff out is to be accepting of it, be vulnerable to somebody around you about it, somebody that you can trust, and move on. And when you're out there and those issues pop up, you get angry at your kids, we struggle with impatience or road rage, things like that. We have to just sit back, take a deep breath, relax and say, this isn't that big of a deal. I don't have to respond in the way that I'm responding. That being said, I gotta get back to work because I've got a bunch more stuff that needs to be done before I'm able to get out of here. I'm grateful that you came and interrupted me at the shop again. I don't mind, honestly. It's not making me impatient or anything. And I think what we will do is say goodbye, and I believe that there's going to be some more music played. I think this is going to be shown in the middle of our Sunday service. I think that's the way that we're moving forward with these messages from here on in. I know that the message will be pulled out of Sunday service and available on the Vox page on YouTube and on Facebook. And you'll be able to watch this throughout the week if you want to. If you want to watch it more times just because you like my head and my beard, that's great. I will look forward to hearing some of your comments, and if you have any questions, please just let me know. I'm always around. I'll pray for you guys, and then I'm going to get back to work. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to these wonderful people who have interrupted my day again. I'm grateful for those interruptions because it reminds me that I need to keep you centered and focused. Father, I'd like to pray for them as they go out through the week, that they look at how they were reacting to certain situations. And Father, I pray that we all understand those moments. We can fix them. We can get through them. We have people around us who will help us, Father. And we are grateful for that. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I'm getting back to work. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Computer Roy. And thanks, Real Roy. So one of the things, Roy, in his message, he mentioned some verses, and I did notice that Heather, sorry, somebody texted me. I just noticed that Heather wrote down, there's also, if you go to the Vox website and you go to the sermon page on the voxalliance.ca website, there's also a link to download a PDF with those scriptures that he referenced in there, because we figured out how to do that. And that was kind of exciting for me this week. Anyways, fun times. So you can do that as well. Or you can also still watch it again if you want to. It'll be up on the Facebook page, it's up on the Vox page, and it's on YouTube as well.
I'm living in a grace where everything is more than I imagined. regrets and my failures. All of my hopes have been left at the cross. All that remains is the Father's love. Oh Lord, you take me as I am. Over and over you call me yours again. You see it all still, you want me. How you love me, how you love me. Your kindness and mercy remind me how you love me, how you love me as I
Oh, thank you so much. That was fun. That was a great new song. And I always like when Aaron brings some of these new ones. They're always a lot of fun, especially because sometimes I get to play drums and I'm like, oh, that one's going to be fun on the drums. Anyways, so another announcement for you. I don't know if you can see, but back on the drums today, Tim has been modeling for you the new Redwood Park Communities masks that are available. Look, I mean, look at this guy. This is a model that if ever there was one. Oh my goodness. He's been modeling the Redwood Park Communities mask. There is a bunch of Redwood Park Communities merchandise that you can purchase in order to help support Redwood Park Communities by going to redwoodparkcommunities.com and buying any number of the lovely items that are available to you. We would love that if you could help us out that way. And then you too can look as good as Tim. It's a stretch. It's something we're all aspiring to, but you too could look as good as Tim. Anyway, so God bless. Thank you so much for coming this morning. We're so glad that you could join us. It's always fun to watch the comments going on. Maybe all of the wrong notes I played today are because I'm paying too much attention to the comments that are scrolling by. But we're so glad that you could be here this week, and we can't wait to be able to worship with you again and to enjoy spending time with you again next Sunday morning. Same bad time, same bad channel. God bless. See you then.